Nobody can explain this mysterious YouTube video. In 2010, a man by the name of Ben Ivy uploaded this video to his YouTube account by the name of Ben Ivy 2. The video is of Mr. Ivy teaching an art lesson, as most of his YouTube channel is dedicated to art tutorials. Halfway into the video though, a cupboard in his kitchen behind him mysteriously opens on its own. The man continues his lesson though, unaware of what happened behind him. Later in the video, the door to the cupboard seems to shut on its own, which gets Mr. Ivy's attention. He turns around startled and looks at the cupboards behind him. Shortly after, he ends the video. At first, I thought the man was acting and that the video was fake. However, out of all of the 66 videos on his YouTube channel, there's no other video like this one. Every single other video is either an art tutorial or a family vlog, which makes this whole thing a little more bizarre.
The creepiest moments in Mexican TV history, the El Chavo del Ocho ghost episode. Now before I show you the creepy clip from this episode, let me just break it down a little bit. El Chavo del Ocho was a very popular Mexican TV show from the 1970s that was a comedy centered around the life of El Chavo, a young orphan living in a barrel. Now of course, all of the kids in this show were portrayed by adults, which only heightened how funny and how popular this TV show would become. However, a lot of viewers would start to see shadows in the background of the TV show, which drew a lot of people to think that it was people working on set. However, on this particular episode during the credit scene, the people didn't see a shadow this time. They saw a full-on figure. And it looks like a very uncanny valley face peeking through the wall right here. So I'm just gonna show you the clip. Here it is. So yeah, to this day, people still argue that it's a ghost, that it's like a doll, which I think would be equally as creepy, or the alleged El Chavo del Ocho stalker, which apparently was a thing on set. But I want to know what you guys think. Was it a ghost? Was it a doll? Was it a person with a tiny head? Was it the stalker? Let me know. Let me know.
Exhaust just right up here, there's a injector that sprays the fluid when you turn on the switch. And the switch, it won't spray fluid unless the engine's running because it's like real toxic chemicals. So it needs to make sure like you're in the air. We get paid about $10 a gallon to spray the stuff. And this has a government issued retrofit kit. And you can see down here, they installed this switch. As you can see, it says chemtrails. You just turn it on, and then you just collect money. That's how it works.
Don't watch this at night because it'll give you nightmares. You've been warned. Today we're going to be looking at unalivemouse.avi. Before I show you the video, let me give you the backstory. So the story goes that this animation was made by Disney animators, and apparently the people that made it unalived themselves after making it. Now according to the story, everyone who has seen the animation has also unalived themselves. Now I'm about to play the animation, so if that freaks you out, just leave now while you have a chance. Now, I can't show it here, but at the end of the animation, Mickey unalives himself. Personally, I don't think anything about this is real, but what do you guys think?
Best scary movie ever, part 5, guys. Watch this.
I was heading out to meet my cronies. I got to my car, turned on my relaxation music before taking off, like I always do.
Wow. Watch. Oh my god, guys. This is not right.
Someone snaps their fingers outside my window every night at 3 a.m. The neighbors warned me not to look at him. I heard it my first night in the new house. Someone walking down the street and snapping their fingers with both hands in the middle of the night. Shit, I had forgotten to close my curtains earlier that day. An older couple came over with a saran-wrapped plate of muffins and a warning. They told me that every night at 3 a.m. someone walks outside the house and snaps his fingers. They said that I should never, under any circumstances, look at the man. If I did, I would sorely regret it. When I asked them what happened if you looked at him, they didn't say a word. Instead, they just looked at each other, and the husband shook his head. Now I was in my room and the snapping man was on his way. I was just about to get out of bed and shut the curtains when suddenly the next snap came from right outside the bedroom window. I let out a startled cry. The house was a good 20 feet from the public sidewalk and separated by a garden gate and then a row of bushes. Somehow he had cleared that distance in less than a second. I covered my face with the pillow and curled up into a ball. A whispered prayer escaped my lips, and I hoped that God was stronger than whatever was outside. The thing started walking back and forth, going just past my house each time. His snapping started out slow and rhythmic but got faster and faster each time until it reached a feverish speed. As they sped up, the snaps grew louder, much louder than any sound a human snap could make. to the point that they rattled the window glass in its pain and drowned out every other sound. I began to shake and shouted for Jesus to protect me. Part of me wanted desperately to jump out of bed and face whatever monster was outside. But I thought back to my neighbor's visit and resisted the urge. It wasn't even their warning that persuaded me. It was the look on their faces when I asked what happened to those who chose to look. They both turned white as ghosts, like the blood had been drained from their heads, and their faces twisted in nauseating fear at the memory of neighbors who hadn't heeded their warnings. It was the kind of instant animal reaction that you cannot hide even when you try. So I knew that whatever happened to those who looked, it had to be terrifying. Even so, it was difficult to lie there defenseless in bed while the snaps grew so loud that I thought my eardrums might burst. I tried stuffing the corners of my pillow down my ears, but it did nothing to quiet the incessant roar. Then there was silence. The noise stopped so suddenly that it was almost startling. From outside, a gravely reptilian voice said, not in a whisper but in a low and quiet tone, "Good night." Footsteps went away from the window and back up the road in the direction they came. It wasn't until the footsteps trailed off that I noticed the sound of someone crying. After a moment, I realized it was me. I was crying. No, sobbing uncontrollably. The experience had been absolutely terrible and frightening in a way I cannot put into words. The worst part was that the louder the snaps got, the more I wanted to look at who was doing them. It wasn't just a morbid curiosity. It was almost as if the sound was beckoning me, like an audible anglerfish was inviting me into its razor-filled jaws. I got up without opening my eyes and shut the window curtains. It took 4 more hours to fall asleep, and even then only because the sun was starting to rise and the world felt safe again. After a while I developed certain strategies for coping with my nightly visitor. At first I tried putting earplugs in before going to bed, but that didn't do anything to cover up the sound of the snapping. Worse still, the goodbye at the end was always as clear as if I had my ear up against the wall. I asked around, and some people in the neighborhood let me know that you could help drown out the noise by leaving a fan on through the night. It sounded dumb at first, but I was desperate enough to try anything at that point, and sure enough, it worked. The snapping was still loud, but endurable, and after a week I was sleeping through the whole thing. In order to make sure I never accidentally looked out the window, I tied the curtains shut and put a box over the sill for an added layer of protection. I also constructed a wall of cardboard around the corner of my bed closest to the window, so that if I happened to look over there in the middle of the night and the box had in some way fallen off and the curtains were somehow open, I still wouldn't see him. I even put tripwire in front of the window so that if I were to try and unblock the window in my sleep I would fall over and wake up. I know, it's a lot of precautionary stuff, but what would you do in my situation? I was determined to not be like one of those dumbasses in scary movies who know there's an imminent threat and just keeps going about things as usual. And when the monster gets them, everyone in the audience thinks I told you so. Fuck that. Once I fine-tuned my nighttime defense strategies, my life started getting back to normal. I joined a book club, settled into my new job, and even became friends with a couple coworkers. One was a goofy guy named Tyler who's stupid in a fun-to-be-around kind of way, and the other was a beautiful girl I was flirting with named Amanda. Everything was going great until I had the dumb idea to invite both of them over for a little party at my place. We started off with board games, pizza, and beer, then more beer, then some pizza, and finally some more beer. At one point Tyler got up to use the pisser as he put it, and I seized the opportunity to capitalize on the liquid courage I had in my system and make a move on Amanda. I was just building up to it when Tyler shouted out, "What the fuck is this stuff in your room?" I froze. I had gone so long without waking up at 3 a.m. that I had half forgotten about the thing that roamed the neighborhood. I looked down at my watch. 2:55. Shit. I had let time get away from me. I got up and ran into my bedroom, and Amanda followed me. "Don't touch it. Get away from the window," I shouted at Tyler, who was peeling back the box on the windowsill. He and Amanda stared at me with their mouths gaping open, and I knew I had to explain myself. I told them all about the thing that comes by every night at 3 a.m. and how it was incredibly dangerous to look at him. I expected them to think I was crazy, but that wasn't exactly how they reacted. "Whoa," Tyler gasped. "So, like, your neighborhood is haunted?" "Well, yeah, I guess technically, but it's not a huge deal as long as you stay away from that window," I said. "So, like, you've never even seen the guy that does this?" he asked me. I shook my head. "How do you know it isn't just some random loser playing a prank?" "Trust me. If you heard it you would know that it isn't anything human," I told him. He looked at me with a flash of excitement. "What time is it?" he asked. I checked my watch again. 2:58. I stuttered, and then looked at him in terror. I did not want them to witness the snapping. For some reason it just felt dangerous to have them around. I worried something unexpected would happen. Something out of my control, like Amanda tripping and accidentally ripping down the box on the window. Or Tyler being Tyler and trying to drunk fight the monster. I mean, they were two highly intoxicated young adults. And we were at what shared a passing resemblance to a party. I was basically playing with fire inside a fuel tank. We need to get out of here. Let's go back into the living room. Come on. I blurted and tried to herd the two out of my room. But Tyler wouldn't budge. No fucking way, man. Now that we're here, I want to hear this thing. I'm staying. I could tell he meant it. And I didn't know what I could do to convince him to leave. Before I could even think of something else to say, I heard it.